Here we're continuing with round three coverage. In this game, we have Ray with the white pieces, and Jolie played with the black pieces in this game. So I just made a video with Ray where he had a kind of a disappointing game, I would say. But I told you guys that Ray would show you his brilliant chess skills, and in this game, he is going to show us how chess is meant to be played. Yeah, so this game we can call Ray's Revenge, not against anyone in particular, just rebounding from the last game. So yeah, I'm really excited for Ray's performance in this game. So let's get started. So here we had e4, e5, and then yeah, let me. I always forget that click that float on top button. So that's what keeps my image above the screen. Okay, so e4, e5. So yeah, so both sides are able to get two of their pieces developed since this pawn move for white and then the symmetrical pawn move for black opens up a couple of diagonals for the black and the white pieces. And also both are controlling some central squares. Okay, so here we have knight f3, attacking a center pawn, which is unprotected at the moment, and then also attacking the d4 square. So here Jolie played d6, which is called the Philidor defense. So this was named after, I believe it was a French player, and who said that pawns are the soul of chess, meaning that based on the position of your pawns, that's going to determine where your pieces are most active and like what plan you should go for in the game. So this move is still played. There's actually a couple of strong players in town that like to play the Philidor defense. It is considered slightly passive because the dark square bishop is going to get stuck inside the pawn chain, and also the current maxim, which is just a fancy way of sort of saying the advice or kind of like the best way to play is that you should develop your pieces in preference to your pawns. So if you have a chance to protect the pawn with a move like knight c6, this would be better or preferable than playing the pawn to d6 here. All right, so here we have knight c3. Knight c3 is a fine developing move. Much more common though is either bishop c4 or just d4, opening up the position. So since we are a little bit ahead in development already, we have one piece developed and our opponent has 0 pieces developed, we can try to just open up the position right away with a move like d4. So yeah, so theory, I think d4 is by far like the most common move, and then second is bishop c4. But yeah, knight c3 is a fine idea. So we're getting a piece developed. We're controlling some central squares, and yeah, we're getting our pieces rapidly developed off the back rank. So here we're every time it was white's turn, other than the first move, we have developed a piece off the back rank. So this is going to ensure that we don't fall behind in development, meaning that we don't have less pieces developed than our opponent. All right, so here we had knight c6 by Jolie. So a logical developing move. Yeah, so basically we're just mirroring the other knight, and we're attacking these two center squares. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so bishop c4 here. So yeah, very good move by Ray again. We're attacking the f7 pawn. And keep in mind, this is the weakest pawn for black because only the king is protecting it. Just like the weakest pawn for white would be this f2 pawn here because only the white king is protecting it. Okay, so we had queen f6. So queen f6 is a little bit of a suspect move, to be honest. We don't really have any of our kingside pieces developed, and we don't have a good square for this knight now. The most logical square for the knight is just to put on f6, but with the queen here, we're not able to do that now. All right, so here we had castling by Ray, which is very good. So he's sticking with the principles, right? Get your pieces developed, control the center, and get your king safe. So this is a very, very good and logical opening play by Ray. Notice here that we also could have played this knight d5 idea. So here we are breaking one of our rules that we want to move a different piece every time. But one of the reasons why when we're able to break that rule is when we create a attack on a higher valued piece. Because if we attack a higher value piece, this piece is going to have to move again. In this case, the queen. And then once the queen moves, we can then just develop another piece. So here we actually have two threats. We're threatening to take the queen, but we're also threatening knight takes c7 check, forking the king and the rook here. So there's really no move for black besides queen d8, just bringing the queen back. And then, so notice that we moved the knight twice, but we basically forced the queen to go right back where it started. So so by making this move, we're actually undeveloping the black pieces. And remember, there's basically two plans in chess. Either try to get your pieces more active, try to get your pieces less active, or try to do some combination of the both, ideally. If you can get your pieces active while limiting your opponent's activity, then that is the best of both worlds here. Okay, so we had castle. Bishop f5 by Jolie. So I assume this is a mouse slip by Jolie. I hope that she didn't. She might have missed that the pawn could take, of course, but I think it's probably a mouse slip. Probably she wanted to put the bishop on g4 and create a pin on the knight. So I think that, yeah, bishop g4 would have been a very nice idea by Jolie. So then now with the queen on f6 attacking the knight, this bishop g4 idea would be quite nice here because it's a bit difficult to get out of the pin. Like the bishop could drop back to e2 and be fine. We could still play knight d5 here, forcing the queen to d8 and be fine here as well. Probably like with a move like h3 to follow, attacking the bishop, and then yeah, here I think we have a good game as white because we have our 3 pieces developed to 2, and our king is safe. So for example, let's say we have a line like this, and then say we play something like we could play probably c3 looks very good here, trying to play d4. But say we just play a move like d3. And then we allow the knight to attack our pin piece. The reason why it's good that we got h3 in is because now we only have to attack this diagonal one more time to break the pin. So in this position, for example, say we don't play h3. Say we just play d3, allowing this knight d4 move. Now if we attack the bishop, the knight could take the black knight could take the white knight, and then after the pawn takes, then the pawn can take on h3. Hitting the rook and just having a much better position as black here. But when we throw this h3 move in first, now after knight d4, when we play g4, the bishop is completely off this diagonal. So therefore, there's no more pin. And if the knight takes, we just take back, and now we're the ones in the driver's seat again because we have much better development than our opponent. So yeah, so keep that idea in mind, and this is something that I think will probably take a few explanations before it really clicks on what I mean by this. So just notice that if we don't play h3 right away, that there's no way to force this bishop off this diagonal. But if we do play h3 first, now we can force the bishop off the diagonal by playing this move g4 here. And now there's nowhere for this bishop to move where it stays on the diagonal. And we're going to work on this. This is not the easiest concept to grasp at first, but we'll keep working on that idea. Hopefully that little explanation helped, but I have a feeling it's going to take a few more explanations before it really clicks. Yeah, but after bishop f5, this just hangs a piece. So Ray did a good job of spotting that move. So remember, you always want to look for what your threats are in the position. So if your opponent moves a piece where it's not safe and you think you can just take it for free, then yeah, why not? Material is really important, so why not just take the free piece? So we have queen takes f5. Okay, and then knight h4. So I think I talked with Ray about this during the class. So we don't want to put our knights on the edge of the board, right? There's an expression in chess: a knight on the rim is grim, a knight on the rim is dim. Then there was the old-fashioned players in the 70s used to say, "A knight on the side I will not abide," because they talked much fancier than we do now. But yeah, basically the premise is you don't want the knight on the edge of the board because it only has a few squares it can move to, as opposed to having the knight centralized, it can move to more squares. So yeah, of course you wouldn't want to move the knight here now because it's not safe. But the point I'm trying to make is one of the first lessons, I believe, for everyone. We talked about the difference between the knight and the center of the board, where it has more activity. It can move to more squares, as opposed to the edge of the board or the side of the board where it doesn't have very many squares that it can move to. So yeah, so I understand we're picking up a tempo on the queen, so I understand why this move seems attractive. But I'd much rather us maybe do something like d4 here, trying to open up the center, or even rook e1 with the same idea basically of opening up the center. Probably d4 is the most accurate move, so probably just d4. And then we're just taking advantage of the fact that we're not only up a piece, so we have 4 minor pieces to 3 minor pieces for black, but we also have better developed pieces. So this queen on f5 could actually be quite weak. We could easily start attacking in the future. And our king is safe, and the black king is still not safe. So for all these reasons, I would say that that white is much better. And then being up a piece is reason enough. But on top of being up a piece, we also have a lot of other compensation as white here. Okay, so knight h4. And yeah, again, this also violates the principle. We don't want to move the same piece twice. So I did say that we can move the same piece twice when we attack a higher valued piece, but that usually is only a good idea when we're moving the piece to a square we want anyway. So like this knight, if we could move the knight to d5, we want to put our knight in the center anyway. So this move makes sense, moving the knight twice in this occasion. But we don't really want the knight on h4. So moving the knight twice to move it to a worse square would not be, that's not as quite as logical as moving your knight to a better square and then attacking the queen. Okay, so knight h4. Yeah. So okay. So yeah. So my advice to Jolie in this game is just yeah, make sure that you move your pieces to safe squares. So just take a note of where your opponent's pieces are. So I like the idea and concept. The idea is you want to attack the bishop and the knight at the same time. So probably if the best way to do that would be queen f4. So the idea is the same. You want to attack both of these pieces at the same time, but you have to make sure that you pick a safe square for your queen. So if you play queen e4, it's just not a safe square. But if you would have played queen f4, I have a feeling that you would have been able to fight back really nicely, because it's really difficult for Kimmy, I think, to find the right move from here. Or not Kimmy, I'm sorry, Ray. I'm sorry, I get Kimmy and Ray mixed up too much. I'm gonna try to work on that. Yeah, but after this, I think yeah, Ray would have had a hard time finding the right continuation. It's not even so clear to me what exactly we're supposed to do as white now. Like, it does look like we have to give the piece back. So, like, I'm looking at knight d5, but I'm not so sure. Like, after the queen takes on h4, I'm not so sure. It feels like this is anybody's game here still. So yeah, so after queen f4, you might just have to give a piece back here, and now it's now the position is quite complicated again. Maybe you take on f7 here. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure the absolute best move for white here. Maybe something like, I was thinking queen e2, but I don't really like this knight d4 idea. So probably we take the knight first, and now we're threatening knight d4 next turn, and the queen seems quite misplaced here. So yeah, so it's not so clear to me. I mean, maybe bishop d5 and kind of go on from here. Yeah, but okay, yeah. So this knight h4 move wasn't so good, because we do walk into this the double attack on the fourth rank. So the queen can easily attack two pieces at once, which is called a double attack. When the knight does it, it's called a fork. When the queen does it, it's called a double attack. But it's basically the same thing. Okay, yeah. So there we give up a piece, and then yeah, here Jolie was started giving away a lot of her pieces. So here we had two attackers on the f7 square, the knight and the bishop. So yeah, so instead of knight coming to e4 here, Ray, we could have played knight takes f7, attacking the rook and attacking the bishop. Also, we could play queen h5 here. Seems logical probably as well. So now we're just adding another attacker to the f7 square. There's a lot of reasonable moves here for white. I'd say just knight takes f7 though seems the simplest here, because we're just going to pick up the rook, as the rook is trapped. It can't move on the 8th rank because there's a knight right here. It can't move on the h file anywhere because there's a pawn right here. So we're gonna pick up the rook next move. Okay, so knight e4. Okay, knight f6. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we gotta work on this, Jolie. We can't just give away all of our pieces, right? Like, this is basically just like, it's like I don't know, because you're such a nice person, Jolie, that I feel like, you like to share. So I was going to say, it's like if someone gave you like a delicious meal and you just gave the meal to someone else, but you do seem like the type of person that might do that. So I'm trying to think of a good analogy for what it's like. I will say it's like if someone gave you the most delicious boba tea in the world, and you just like not even gave it to someone, you just took the boba tea and like dumped it on the floor. That is sort of what giving your pieces away in chess. It's just like taking your most delicious drink and just putting it on the floor for absolutely no reason, and just so you can't enjoy it anymore. So your pieces are like delicious boba tea that you want to enjoy. You want to use them. You don't want to just dump the contents of the drink on the floor, because your pieces are valuable, right? You have to value your pieces because you don't have so many. All right, so we're at knight takes f6 check, king e7, knight d5. Really nice job of Ray maneuvering the knight around, creating checks. All right, king e6, knight takes c7. So yeah, beautiful job with the knight forks by Ray. So yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm really happy for Ray. The last game obviously didn't go well for him at all, and I'm happy he bounced back. And then at the same time, we're gonna see a game from Jolie in, I think, round 5. I don't. She said she got disconnected in, or no, she said she did not get disconnected in round four, I believe. So we'll look at the round four game. But yeah, it's that's kind of the cool thing about these tournaments for the kids. I feel like yeah, some games are not going to be their best showing, and that goes for all levels of skill, all skill level of chess players. Everyone doesn't always play their best game every single game. That's understandable. But I feel like in this tournament there were some games where the kids didn't really play like their best game. But I always feel like they kind of bounced back in the later rounds and played a really nice game. So I think that was one of the things that when I observed the tournament I thought was quite cool was that sometimes they had a bad game and then the next game they came back with a really good game. So it shows that they keep trying and they keep trying to improve. And that's all that I can personally ask from them. And I think that's really all you can ask from yourself if you just move on to the next game, even if the previous game was bad and give it your all again, then to me that's the kind of fighting spirit that will ensure that you improve over a longer period of time. So that's why I'm really excited for the kids. I think give them like 5 6 months of just working on chess. Already some of the kids have really improved a lot, and I know all the kids. I think if they just keep putting the time in after about 6 months of like serious trying their best at chess and trying to learn the concepts that we were talking about, the improvement is going to be extremely noticeable, and it's already been noticeable. If you look at this tournament from the first one, the games are just 10 times better, I would say. All right, so cool. Let's go ahead and make the next round three video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you.